So this is summary 10. How does shipper/receiver loading/unloading time impact carriers' pricing, and how would you fix it? So basically, shipper and receiver loading and unloading times can be significantly impacted by carrier pricing because they directly affect the carrier's operational efficiency and cost. Whenever trucks are delayed at the loading docks, they have to wait long hours to unload. It creates a time where they're still getting paid because they're waiting to unload and whatnot. And it also affects the schedule that they're on. Reducing the time a driver can be on the road and resulting in extra costs for the carrier. It also does that. And then carriers often charge detention fees if loading and unloading times exceed the limit that they have agreed on. Typically around 2 hours is what they give, and here is how some of these delays would impact pricing and some sort of solutions. So one would be increased operating cost, which ideal time cost would be the biggest thing there, and it would be for every truck for every hour a truck is waiting, there are fuel, maintenance, and labor costs that do not contribute to the actual transportation service. So basically, they're wasting their fuel because they're just waiting there, and they're obviously the truck's on because no one wants to sit in a hot truck or a cold truck. The driver wages, with drivers being paid for the hours that they're worked, excessive waiting times pushes carriers to pay those drivers more because they're waiting. So technically, they're in the truck driving. We can reduce asset utilization. Carriers aim to maximize the number of loads moved in a given time frame, so long delays reduce the number of trips that they can have. Reduced asset utilization leads the carriers to increase prices to offset the revenue loss from fewer trips per day. So they have to increase the cost because they're not going to get paid for the days that they thought they were going to work. Compliance with hours of service. Loading and unloading delay may cause drivers to hit their federally mandated hours for service time. So forcing them to take mandatory breaks before they can start their next trip, this creates an inefficiencies that drivers have to go through. So forcing them to take more breaks now that they've been driving for so long causes them not to get back in time like they thought they were going to, just causes a whole bunch of issues that no one really wants to deal with. So some solutions that I would use preferably would be implement efficient dock scheduling. So have a certain dock schedule. That way I know exactly when the drivers are supposed to be there. That way everybody knows exactly when the driver's supposed to be there, how long it should take, and etc. Use drop and hook programs, which in a drop and hook, a carrier drops off a loaded trailer and hooks onto an empty one to take on to their next load. This also helps reduce the waiting times that a truck driver can have. Establish clear detention policies and penalties. So clearly define acceptable loading/unloading windows and establish detention fees for exceeding these limits. So that basically means that they're going to know exactly whenever I'm dropping it off and unloading it, so that if they are overtime, then they know the consequences that's going to cost them. Invest in warehouse automation and staffing. So automating loading equipment and an adequately staffed warehouse team can help the process of loading and unloading, and also would help reducing of delays that may be caused. And then also analyzing data on loading and unloading times can also help me know like exactly like what companies are on it, what companies aren't on it, and whatnot like that. By minimizing delays, this would help because a driver is still getting paid for waiting, and their hours are still going through because they're still waiting in their truck with it on and whatnot. So if I had a strict schedule and whatnot, then this could help my drivers because then they're also getting paid from the other company that is holding them off because they're not going to be able to drive as much as they thought they were because they've took too long on this trip. So that was my theory on this question.